All right, everyone, you can thank me now. I got Mark Marshall on the line for this show. He is the author of the book Goonies, Droids, and Killer Whales, based on his experiences working for the likes of Richard Donner, Steven Spielberg, you name it, a plethora of geniuses. Harry Potter, doing Harry Potter with us when we were at Warner Brothers. Here he is, Mark Marshall. Mark, what do you have to say for yourself, man? Look at you.
How'd you get my number?
Exact. Well, actually, it was written on this truck stop wall, and I thought that can't be right. And so I decided to test it. And look, here we are. Well, what do you know?
Wow.
No, but it's good to see you again. You are actually one
You,
of our favorites. I should put all the
well,
humor aside.
thank you. That's very kind of you.
And I do love the book. The book is one of our best. In fact, I bought a couple copies here that I was hoping I could have you sign for our silent auction at A Christmas Carol
Of
for
course, I'd be happy to.
yeah, for children battling NMOSD because, hey, we could all use a good book for the holiday season, and this one is fantastic. It's very candid. I mean, I've read some of it, and maybe I'll read some of it today. And as a dyslexic, that's a stretch. That's a sacrifice, but the book is so good, I'm going to try and
Oh,
lay out and do it.
well, thank you.
What have you been doing? You just got back from Astoria, Goonies event, right?
Back in June, yeah,
Hmm.
celebrating the 40th anniversary of the release of the movie. They do a big thing every uh, 10 years.
Hmm.
And it was really special because this time the owner of the Goonies house, Bayman Zachary and his wife, have restored the house to exactly the way it was, the way it looked back in 1984 when we shot there. Furniture, everything. I mean, it was an amazing nostalgia trip.
They should make it a museum. I remember Ian Patella was telling me they did that with the Christmas Story house. You know, the shooting the
Yeah,
exteriors, the interiors were done on a stage, but so he said they finally retro refitted however you would say it, the inside to match it. So they kind of made it like this compound. They should do that with Goonies. Open it up to the public and let people, did you guys shoot the interiors there too, or no?
some of them, yes. I mean, the
Yeah,
attic was shot on stage 19 at Warner's, but otherwise, we shot practically in the house.
yeah, because that living
And
room
that's
is
why they
that's hard to
restored it.
fake. Yeah, it's hard to
Yeah,
fake that living
absolutely.
room.
Well, and they've restored the attic too at in Astoria. So, I mean, it looks exactly like it did. There was an Emmy Award winning production designer who came in and supervised the project, and they've actually shot a series which they're hoping to sell soon to Max or whoever, uh, chronicling the restoration, like they did with the Brady Bunch house.
What we need is a few more Goonies fan films. Was it you that was telling me that R2D2's on the ship?
Yes, yeah, he's on the deck of the ship in the miniature. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got a
very.
picture I can send you.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Is that picture in your book? Is that where I first saw the photo?
Oh, it
Is it?
may be.
It might be in your
I
book.
haven't read it yet, so I don't know.
You haven't read your own book? Come on, your book is actually genius. I love the fact also that you got Bill Daly to write the intro
Oh, that was
because,
very special. Bill was
yeah,
very instrumental in my career
yeah,
and
we
in my
had him
life.
back. We had him back, I don't know, for like the 10th or 15th. I mean, I love seeing Bill socially too. I mean, we saw him at that the 100th birthday for Sammy Davis Jr. He invited me out for that special thing the family did, and he's always good in a social setting. But what I love about getting him on the show is I get a chance to do my impression of him, which he
Yeah.
immediately shuts down and goes, "I've seen it. Nobody else is interested." And but he does write very concise, well thought out. I want to say a report on you, but it's an introduction. But it was really he was writing from a place of admiration of what it meant to him to work with you, especially on the Harry Potter uh, during the Harry Potter days. So that was nice. I thought
Well,
he,
it's a mutual admiration, believe me. I mean, he is the one who gave me opportunities that probably
yeah,
no one else would.
yeah, for sure. He was just one of those guys. So talking Goonies, you come back from the event. The event is how many days? Was it a good time?
It was let's see, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, it was a great time. I mean, I don't think there were as many fans from around the world that came. I mean, in 19 or 2015, there was between 12 and 15,000. Uh, there might have been 10,000 this year, but it was great. Corey Feldman, Cary Green, who played Andy,
Yeah.
Robert Davi, who played Jake Fratelli, who you know,
Yeah.
um, Paul Trepay, and Curtis Hanson, who played Mr. Perkins, um, came up, and so we did a couple of panels on Saturday. It was a very misty-eyed trip. Let's just put
No
it that way.
doubt, no doubt nostalgic and inspirational for the fans for sure. Speaking of Goonies, by the way, I just went to Peter Jason's memorial, which was
Oh, I know.
mind-numbingly awesome. It was the best. I mean, I've been to so many, and so many have been sort of uplifting and like spiritual in a sense, but this one was absolutely fantastic. But from the Goonies standpoint, Martha Plimpton did a song.
Did she really?
Yeah, so I did not realize I should have put this together, but it took me maybe a couple of years to put this together, and it was just recently where Martha Plimpton's father is Keith Carradine.
Right.
Keith Carradine was Bob Cratchit on A Christmas Carol,
Yes, I know.
wrangled because his lifelong friend is Peter Jason's. And actually, I'm seeing Robert Carradine for dinner tonight from Revenge of the Nerds, so that's kind of funny. But I didn't realize they were all related. So at the memorial, they all came out, and she did this wonderful song. You know, you always kind of you have that moment of pause when people get up and take the stand because you're not sure if they're going to make it about them showcasing or if they're going to create some sort of inspirational, heartfelt connection. And that's what she did. She did a great song. She had a great speech talking about how she met Peter at like Eddie Albert's house in like the 70s, you know? But great story. And you would have loved this funeral, Mark, because Frank Marshall was there too. He produced the Goonies, didn't he? Was he on it?
Yes, executive producer.
Yeah, he spoke too, and lifelong friend of Peter Jason's. I mean, who's who. You know what I can say about the funeral, and this conversation shouldn't be about this or this memorial. Was John Carpenter spoke, Walter Hill spoke, but the main thing is after the event, which was held at the Writers Guild, they all stayed. No one spoke and then bolted. They all stayed. Carpenter and his wife were great with my kid because they sign things for her charity every year, and they reminisced and they were trying to console her because she was undoubtedly devastated. Peter Jason was
Yeah.
like an uncle to her, but Frank Marshall was there, very friendly, and they all stayed and they were all telling stories way into the evening. Which is hopefully how it'll be for me and you in about 40 years.
Oh, it'll be for you for sure. I mean, and you know what? That's the testimony of a great man. Is that people there? I've never heard a bad word about Peter Jason.
No.
He was much loved, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, he sent a song to Sean when we were all living at the hospital, and it was the most inspirational, heartfelt little thing on his guitar. But I mean, one of the moments that I have so many great moments with him because he was such a rascal, and he was such a like a member of the Little Rascals. He was a little troublemaker in like all the funniest ways. And I remember he goes, I called him and we were talking about an actor we were trying to get in touch with for A Christmas Carol. Keith David had done it. Paul Reiser was doing it, but this actor wasn't getting back to us. And so I finally just said, I guess he's not doing it. And I sent him an email. And then 2 days later, I'm talking to Peter Jason. And I go, so who are our options? And I said, what about your friend, this guy? I'm telling the story in a very confused, jumbled fashion. This guy who I said, I guess is not doing it. I kind of confirmed. And his response is, well, you said it. You said you guess he's not doing it. So fuck him. But the way he said it was like so like, like I don't know how to explain it, but it was so funny and hilarious and candid. It's just like don't let it bother you. Don't let it stop us. It was kind of let's just get back. That was kind of who he was. He was just very upbeat. But I saw a lot of your Confederates, a lot of your Goonies Confederates there. And Plimpton really, really has a presence. Really was, you
I didn't
know,
know Martha could sing, but having two very musical parents, I guess I should have
yeah,
realized.
yeah. I mean, her dad got the Oscar for music, right, in Nashville. Wasn't that
Yeah,
it?
and her mom Shelley was in the original Broadway production of Hair.
Yeah, unreal. So I thought of you briefly. I don't think we've talked since that happened. So otherwise, I would have brought this
Uh,
up to you off air. I mean, unfortunately, this is what happens on this show. You get the same conversations here that you would get if we were meeting for dinner. Um, I know people want this well thought out like questionnaire about the Hollywood business, but unfortunately, you get something much more candid from us. But anyway, I'm glad the event in Astoria went well because I'm always rooting for you guys when you get together and do that. And I know the fans love any bit of nostalgia they can get from you.
Well, thank you. And one of the coolest things was that I stayed at the Short Circuit House.
Did you? Yeah,
Yeah, I was
yeah.
offered that for the duration, and man, what a place.
All right. So I have a question, and I should know the answer, but maybe you have it. I'm pretty sure Short Circuit was produced by a friend of ours, David Foster. Is that true? Was he the
Yes,
producer on that?
and directed by John Badham.
Oh man, John Badham, the man.
Yeah, another really good man.
Yeah, yeah. God. How was the Short Circuit house in terms of accommodations?
Oh, fantastic. I mean,
Please.
it's got memorabilia all throughout the house. I signed the ceiling in the attic, and that the deck, of course, has that incredible view of the Astoria Bridge, and it's famous. But no, Richard Bates, the owner, and his wife have restored it, um, right down to a ceramic duck in the yard, which was in the movie. But no, what a great place, and it's getting the same kind of attraction now as the Goonies house with visitors. There was so much that was filmed in Astoria: Kindergarten Cop, The Ring, Short Circuit, Goonies, Free Willy. So,
Yeah. We were just having this conversation with a few of your buddies from Poltergeist. I just had a conversation with Oliver Robbins and Martin Casella,
oh, oh,
and
excellent.
who also worked for Spielberg around the time I think you did.
Yeah, Marty was
Uh,
Steven's personal assistant. Yeah, in the early '80s.
Yeah, and so we were talking about how the location being in what was it, Simi Valley, and how all the neighbors
Yeah,
were at first thrilled and then started complaining about the noises at night and the effects. And I had thought that, if you were to make that movie today, you would have just built that street up against a mountain someplace and left it
yeah,
up for and put a museum at the end and a gift shop and just left it up and just bought
yeah.
but then, yeah, they moved into a real neighborhood. Now you probably would have just fabricated the whole thing with the idea of like this will pay for itself in tourist dollars. Everyone's kind
Yeah.
of now think, but it's so funny how none of us thought that way. Remember in the 70s and 80s, we just thought like, I mean, these
Oh yeah.
sets and this shit just went in the trash.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Goonies pirate ship was completely demolished because nobody wanted it, including Magic Mountain. They were offered.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, it
Heartbreaking.
really is. It really is because now, of course, sets like that are not practical. Like you said, they're maybe the top deck against a green screen,
Yeah.
and the rest is all filled in digitally. So it's really a lost art.
I would love that ship now, especially, being on a project like No Quarter Kill All Masters. But I mean, the answer is
Yes.
always yes. Give me the ship. Even if it goes into storage, we'll figure it out. We'll pay the storage fee until we can figure out how to use it. But Magic Mountain saying no. I always wonder where are the people that said no in our business, like the guy who said no to the Goonies pirate ship, or like the guy who they called him the Pharaoh, the guy that said no to E.T. when Spielberg pitched it to him. Where
Oh,
I forget who the executive was. It's before my time, but you
Frank
know who I'm
Price.
talking. Is that who it was? Frank Price? They called him the Pharaoh,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, well, yeah, and well, and the most famous one is, and it's in the book, is the guy who recommended turning down Star Wars,
Yeah.
at Universal. Although he didn't actually turn it down, he just said, "Look, this could be a really great project, but in the end, do we have enough faith in Mr. Lucas, George Lucas, to pull it off?" And evidently, no one thought he could.
Yeah. Looking back now, the to hear that it's kind of mind numbing.
Yeah.
Although I get it though. I read these scripts too, and we saw a lot of them at Warner Brothers. I remember the Braveheart script coming through, and I'm like, and I thought that was a really well done movie when I saw it all put together. But I remember that script going, a 13th century Scottish Civil War? Like, are we going to be able to get people to care about this? And I'm not saying we couldn't, but I was like, are we going to be able to achieve this? I remember being like kind of baffled looking at that script. Now I looked at that script later, obviously, but I remember thinking like, wow. And Forrest Gump, I thought, well, this is kind of a nifty idea, but I didn't expect it to be Forrest Gump. So you never know. You never really know, right?
Well, but those scripts didn't have Mel Gibson or Tom Hanks at the time.
Right, but at the
You know,
time with Braveheart, we were like, okay, so he's done Man Without a Face. Can he make a 13th century? The answer is yes. We all know. And I mean, John Milius like had made Conan the Barbarian this incredible, well, boss. So of course he gets his props. It's
yeah,
incredible work, but you're always kind of wondering when you read the page. So I can see someone looking at the page at Star Wars going, I don't know. I don't know. I can see him saying that, but I can
yeah.
also see him fired as soon as the first weekend's receipts are in. You're out.
Well, and of course, even though it's a committee decision, um, failure, is an orphan. So
Mhm.
um, that's somebody has to pay for it.
Right, right. So I got something in the spirit of our conversation here. I've got something to show you. You got a minute?
Sure, of
All right, hang
course.
tight.
Okay.
Coming up next at the movies, you're going to find out whether the Goonies is the name of the good guys or the bad guys.
Haven't you ever heard of that guy? What's his name? The pirate guy. One-Eyed Willie.
One-Eyed Willie. Yeah, he was the most famous pirate in his time. My dad told me all about him once.
Dad'll do anything to get you to go to sleep.
Eagerly awaited films of the summer movie season. It's The Goonies, based on a story by Steven Spielberg about a group of kids who hunt for a long-lost pirate treasure in an effort, for some of them at least, to save their parents' homes from foreclosure by greedy real estate developers. Here's one of the opening scenes from the film where the kids stumble upon a pirate map.
What are you doing?
Hey, Mike found a map.
Yeah.
Hey, look. That says 1632. Is that a year or something?
No, it's your top score on pole position.
Yes, it's a year, Chuck. Look, it's a map of our coastline.
What's all that Spanish junk right there?
Who knows, Mal, you said you could translate. Translate, right here.
Yeah, translate it.
Ye intruders beware, crushing death and grief, soaked with blood of the trespassing thief.
You guys, this map is old news. Everybody and their grandfather went looking for that when our parents were our age. I mean, haven't you ever heard of that guy? What's his name? The pirate guy. One-Eyed Willie.
One-Eyed Willie. Yeah, he was the most famous pirate in his time. My dad told me all about him once.
Dad'll do anything to get you to go to sleep.
No. See, One-Eyed Willie stole treasure once. It was full of rubies and emeralds and diamonds. Diamonds.
Now, much later in the film, the kids get closer to all those jewels in a cave. But the whole place, just like in Indiana Jones, has been booby-trapped.
Guys, please, don't move. Don't move. You guys, don't move back there. Don't move. Let's freeze. Guys, let's go. Run, you guys,
While that's all going on, they're being chased by three clownish thieves who would like to recover the pirate treasure themselves. The Goonies is intended to be sort of a modern-day pirate movie with the kids in the starring roles, and once the kids are in that tunnel, the picture is a good deal of fun, particularly when the chubby kid in the group, we saw him in that first scene where he's talking about the emeralds, played by Jeff Cohn. He forms sort of a friendship with a nice monster down in the tunnel, and that is kind of cute because it gives us a little rooting interest in them recovering the treasure, or at least in those two characters surviving. But the big problem with the Goonies is that it takes forever to get this story underway. The introduction to the kids is mechanical, just they talk all over each other, interrupt each other. They trade insults. The opening scene with the robbers is really limp comedy. I'm going to give this film a marginal thumbs up because it eventually does turn into a fun picture. But my advice would be, walk in a half an hour late. You won't miss a thing, and I think you'll enjoy the movie more.
I'll tell you something, Gene. In the first half hour or so of this film, I found it difficult to understand the dialogue.
Yes, I did too.
The kids are all talking at the same time. They're on each other's lines.
Roger, didn't you know that it was sort of a stylistic device? In other words, that the director, Richard Donner, said, all right, now keep talking, interrupt each other, keep talking like real kids talk.
Because they're real bright, and so they're going to be talking all the time, and we're going to get them. But the problem is, after a while, you sit back in your seat. You say, I'm mad at this movie. If it doesn't want to let me hear it, then I don't want to sit here and have to work. But then, you're right, after about half an hour it picks up, and the way it picks up is it turns into a child's version, or a young teenager version of Indiana Jones.
Right.
And particularly Raiders of the Lost Ark. You have the spikes coming up from the floor of the cave, you have the boulders coming down, you have the treasure, you have all the secrets, and although essentially the producer Spielberg is ripping off himself, it works. I mean, the special effects are great, the adventures are thrilling, and it does work on that level. I think kids will like it. I liked it. I mean,
I like the back half of it. I thought one fault was that there weren't enough people to root for, and that's why I like this friendship between the fat kid and this big monster, because those were characters that at least had some emotion. There's a little crying involved between them. There's a kiss even between them, a sharing of a Baby Ruth candy bar. Those are nice scenes. I wish there had been more characters in the film like that. That kind of
reminded me of that great old movie, The Bride of Frankenstein, where you have the friendship there. It goes on for just a little bit, the monster becomes human.
Right. So I could not disagree more with those guys. I thought at the time the banter was fantastic. It was easy for a kid in junior high, which is where I was, to understand it. And these two guys come off as two crotchety elitists towards the beginning of the film. However, they do seem to like it once it picks up and gets on its mission, and I agree with that part of it. What did you think watching this, Mark Marshall, being that you are a survivor of the Goonies production?
Well, I think it's a perfect evidence of why movies aren't made for critics. They're made for audiences, young and old. And the charm and the reason that people identify with those kids is that they were told to be real kids. They weren't actors. I mean, they were actors, but they were told not to act. And real kids do talk over each other, and they do make fun of each other once in a while. I kind of resented Siskel saying the fat kid makes friends with the gangster. Well, Sloth wasn't a gangster, and the fat kid had a name, a character name and a real name, and I just don't. I don't know. You're right. I think they're elitist, and they appeal to the highest denominator instead of the common denominator of audiences.
Now, in this case, they definitely come off that way. They've been smart in other cases and at other times. They did mention Jeff Cohen by name, big attorney now, so he did get some props, but they were sort of dismissive of the old. I mean, look, I'll be the first one to tell you. You look at the Goonies now, the prison break doesn't hold up, and who cares? Who cares? Yeah. It's just a fun movie. But at that time, I have to say, this was, for me, one of the hallmark movies of the 1980s, like on par with like Back to the Future, Red Dawn, later Platoon. These movies, Aliens. I mean, the 80s was, in my mind, an excellent decade for movies. I know people love to bash it, but this was one of those movies that just had a sense of magic. And I know how you feel about Richard Donner. We had a lot of love for him when we were at Warner Brothers. He was based there with us. And I think, and he shows up in it, doesn't he? Doesn't he show up at the end, Donner?
Yeah, at the end as a park ranger who sees the kids coming out of the cave after they're free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have to say, I don't agree with I don't agree with a lot of what they're saying about this movie. They both recommended it, but it was like a cautionary recommendation, like. Who suggests? I know we're talking about $4 tickets in these days, right? Or $5 if you want to sit in the loge section. But who suggests showing up 30 minutes late to a movie?
I would suggest showing up 10 minutes after the posted showtime to miss all the commercials.
Yeah. But, if you're watching the Goonies and you're watching Data do his tricks, of which some of that is established in that early car chase, and you're establishing that our buddy Davi breaks out of jail, and you're suggesting to miss all that, like that. Your advice is come in. Terrible advice, especially for kids who want to know what is happening. You got to kind of go through, and that never dragged for me. The beginning of this movie never dragged. How are these guys now? How's Sean Astin and we did an event, you and me, with Corey Feldman. A lot of love for that guy. How are the Goonies today?
Well, Sean is currently running for SAG president.
I saw that,
president of the Screen Actors Guild. I think he'll get it because talk about everyman. He is the embodiment of that.
That's
Um,
true.
Josh Brolin is Josh Brolin. Um, Marvel villain. Kiwi Kwan's an Academy Award winner. Corey Feldman is on Dancing with the Stars
Is he?
this season. Yeah, they just announced it.
Okay.
Terry Green is an artist, mother, but she's also an editor. She's actually editing the series about the Goonies, restoring the Goonies house.
Good.
So she's busy. Martha Plimpton's stage actress, film actress, London, New York, and Jeff, like as you said, is an attorney and a very successful one and a very smart one too.
So there we go. We've established that the Goonies uh, keep gooning.
Yeah, they will always be Goonies.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of conversations about this film. It was I think it's a passionate part of your history. We've talked outtakes, we've talked script, we've talked the gorilla sequence that was cut, and Donner telling Spielberg, if you want it in the movie, you shoot it. That's such a Donner thing to say.
Yeah.
I was looking at some of our old interviews where you, Bill Daly, and I were talking about Donner's presence versus Joel Silver, and we still resent Joel Silver to a bit because one, he had the greatest office, and he wore these very extravagant looking pajamas, and none of us got a pair. He never gifted us a pair.
Very true.
Yeah, but we did talk about how that relationship worked and ultimately fell apart, and we also talked. I've told the story and tried to paraphrase the story about how he covered you after your car caught fire and like threatened the auto dealer of like, I'm gonna have a bunch of nuns in your car and it's gonna suddenly explode like a drummer from Spinal Tap, or something to that degree. And immediately your car was fixed.
Yeah, and paid for.
Paid for and fixed.
Dick was a father figure, and I still miss that guy. You know who's in the Joel's and Dick's offices now?
Who is it? I don't. Should I?
Joel's
do I want to know?
It's Joel's building is George Clooney and Grant Heslov Smokehouse Pictures, and Donner's belongs to James Gunn, who just directed the Superman movie.
God, that makes sense. And that was Sinatra's office, if I understand it right.
Yes. And Steven's office for one, too.
Yeah. The lineage. Yeah, it was when Stephen J. Ross was running, right? Spielberg was in there. Was that when it was?
Well, Ross was definitely the big, powerful presence. But, and the only reason he left Warner Brothers was because Universal offered to build him, that beautiful hacienda.
Yeah. Yes. Not too far from where we're based.
No.
We should have walked over there and gotten ourselves some root beer popsicles next time. It's I'm glad those guys are George Clooney, by the way, when I was at Warner Brothers, you may have the same experience. He would talk to everybody. He was very friendly.
Yeah.
No barrier. Yeah. Played basketball. In fact, I think they built those basketball courts for him. Played basketball with everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to hear these guys have created creative situations for themselves that are beneficial. And Grant Heslov was great in True Lies with our buddy Tom Arnold, and he's turned out to be a very, very impressive writer. It's funny. I was talking about the stories from Building 81 when I was in there with John Milius, and how it's a small Melrose type place building, but the first floor was Clint Eastwood and Akiva Goldsman. You had Wolfgang Peterson, Joel Schumacher, Christopher Nolan, the Wachowskis, Chris Carter, myself, and Mark Canton, who had run Sony Pictures, on the top floor. And I remember thinking, I had no idea at the time how legendary all the personalities in there were or were going to be.
Yeah, it's like a who's who.
Yeah. I mean,
amazing.
Yeah. And I'm always partial because I think John Milius was the best personality in the building, both comically speaking, and just talent-wise. I thought he was incredible, and still think that. And Robert Davi, I told Robert that I actually initially met him in Milius's office because he came in with a big Italian picnic basket of food and wine for everybody. And I was like, dude, you're instantly likable because I know how you show up at an office. And, it's funny. We kind of, remembered all. Anyway, nice going down memory lane. Now, you worked on the Spider-Man. Fuck, that'll be edited. You worked on the Superman project, right, with Dick Donner?
No, that was
That
that was 1978. I mean, well, it came out in 78, but he started in 75, and I was just graduating high school.
was your first. What I know, I should know the answer to this, being that we've been friends for so long. But what was the first film project set you were on? Was it Empire Strikes Back?
Uh, yeah, it would be Empire Strikes Back because my first job was More American Graffiti, my first feature job,
Yeah.
and they were shooting up in Central California and up in Northern California, so I never had a chance to visit the set at all.
Yeah. Harrison Ellenshaw, who I'm interviewing after this today, one of our favorites around here.
Yeah, great guy.
He is a super talent. One of known as the kid who almost killed Walt Disney back in the day before Disneyland opened. But he has got that great moment in Empire Strikes Back with director Joe Johnston, where they're like Group 7 and 10, and Harrison's always put off that Joe gives the instructions and he just has to nod and walk off. But the best stories from that set come from people like you, and like people like John Mogridge, for example, who experienced the production at a certain level where you got to really witness the mechanics. I know you did a lot of publicity work, and I've seen the great photos of you on the set with all the actors. Mogridge is good because he's like, I was a rebel pilot one morning, and then I'm the snow trooper running through the base killing rebel pilots that afternoon. And he's like, because he's like 7 parts in that sequence. He's like 7 different characters. He's the guy that almost garroted Darth Vader by stepping on his cape and choking him when they were walking through the. But I love those stories from Empire Strikes Back because I don't think anyone knew what kind of film it was going to be. I think most people expected it to just kind of be a well-received but sequel that wasn't as accomplished as it was. And then, of course, that movie hits the screen and you're like, kapow.
Oh yeah, Empire and Godfather 2, 2 examples of sequels that were almost really better than the original.
Speaking of Godfather, I'm supposed to interview Fred Fuchs. Maybe you should do it with me. Hey, let me show you something. You want to see The Empire Strikes Back, Siskel and Ebert?
Sure.
You don't look so sure, Mark. You sure you want me to pull the trigger on this?
I'm sure it was a rave. I have no doubt about that.
Do you have something else you want to go to from your illustrious career? I mean,
no.
Bill Daly and I looked at the Siskel and Roper commentary on Harry Potter, and Bill Daly got emotional seeing it.
Really?
He did. He actually, when it was over, he said there's so many emotions looking at these guys talk about this movie when it was right out of the canister. And
and he poured his heart into it. He really did.
So did you, buddy. So did you.
Well, I was just trying to keep my head above water.
Yeah. Or as like Kakai Ampa said, just trying to keep my end up.
Yeah. I mean, I was playing with the big boys. Chris Columbus and David Heyman and Richard Francis Bruce and, John Williams. That's all you can do is just tread water.
Now, Williams has this great documentary around him about all the pieces of music he's contributed to and the moments and emotional triggers he's responsible for. The first one that comes to mind whenever anyone mentions, Jaws usually, but also for some reason in one of my lesser favorite films, E.T. from Spielberg, I like the movie. It's just not up there, I think, with Jaws or with Indiana Jones for me, but there's that musical cue when they cut to the kids on the bike. And I swear there is like an intuitive artistry to what Williams delivers there because the music could not be perfect. You could bring in Mozart to score this movie and it wouldn't have hit the same level of emotion as Williams did right in that. The scene I'm talking about, right when they're like, Peter Coyote discovers, which by the way, how genius is it to have a character in E.T. who is somewhat sympathetic to what is happening?
Yeah.
Who absolutely cares. And then, of course, which is great because that's not where it starts out. It kind of starts out mysterious, like he's
a typical government figure.
Yeah. You were on the set of E.T., weren't you?
No, I didn't start with Steven until 84.
Oh, okay. Because somebody was telling me that Carlo Rambaldi would constantly refer to E.T. as bring in the midget.
Yes. Yeah, that is true. That I was told Carlo. That story and
Carlo, come on, buddy. Bring in the midget.
Yeah. Well, you know, the other story that I love, um, and it's a firsthand experience. After the film came out, I was actually back in Oklahoma for about 15 months, and my friends and I went to see it, ET in Tulsa, and it was sold out. And we got a section down in the about a third of the way from the front on the side,
Yeah.
and we were in front of this little elderly couple who talked all the way through the movie. I mean, they were asking questions and stuff, and they weren't trying to be rude. They were just, you know, and the scene
Harold,
where,
why does the bike
yeah,
fly, Harold?
yeah, exactly. And when the brother finds ET face down in the creek, and he screams, and this raccoon runs away, and this gentleman turned to his wife out loud and said, "I wonder what that ET tastes like." And the whole
Hmm.
audience heard it, and they just erupted in laughter. And I mean, it was the funniest question. Anyway, at the end, everybody still cried, so it didn't affect it. But you know, you look kind of confused.
No, I get the story. Like sometimes when people, in an audience or say something for the audience's effect and or benefit, I sometimes wonder what goes through their head when they think, let me interrupt a reverent moment of the film with what I think people should be thinking right now.
Yeah, I think
So
he was hard of hearing. I don't think he maybe knew he was talking that loudly.
yeah, I saw E.T. twice back to back. I saw it with my grandmother. She took me, and right afterwards she goes, "Do you want to see that again?" I'm like, "Yeah." We went right back in and saw the next screening. There was a line outside, and she said, "Just stand around here by the commission or the candy stand, and we'll wander it."
Yeah,
Typical, hijack the production machinery out of a couple of tickets that they're entitled to. And it's funny because my grandmother would always, if I visited, she'd say, "You get to pick if I visited." She lived in Canoga Park and I lived in Woodland Hills. It's probably 2.5 miles apart. But, it's like, she let me pick the movie. And I remember E.T. was one I picked. And I also said, oh, I remember also a movie you didn't work on. I'm like, I want to see Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome.
oh yeah,
And I remember she saw this movie and I was loving this movie. And at the end of the movie, I was so surprised because she got up and she goes, that movie was so much better than I thought it was going to be. She actually kind of got into it, actually, once that movie gets going.
you had a
Um,
terrific grandmother.
she really was awesome. She was really something special, and but E.T., yes, twice in a row. She took me to see Empire Strikes Back, and I remember we got free tickets because the sound went out right when Darth Vader invites him to lunch in Cloud City. Now, didn't we all wonder how that worked? Like, we were like, do you think they went in and actually had the lunch, or do you think because Darth Vader sits back down as if he's sitting back down to eat? And like, how does that work with the mask? Or do you think he
Well,
gets them all inside and he's like, okay, I'm going to eat. We're going to tear you away and torture you. How does that work once they're in the commissary?
that's a good question. I doubt that the good guys ate, and Vader probably sipped something through a straw.
Yeah, through a straw, right? And I mean, I should have asked Jeremy Bullock. He would have probably explained it best.
Yeah,
He's two parts in that movie too. He's multiple parts. Boba Fett, and he's one of those Imperial guys later.
it's
I didn't
amazing.
real. What's that?
It's amazing. I mean, the multiple parts people play, just like Warwick Davis, you
Yeah,
know, playing different Ewoks and different parts in Harry Potter too.
he is so funny. Did you ever see him on that show, Life's Too Short?
Yes, I loved it.
Incredible. The whole part when he's breaking up with his wife, but he wants to get his like acting award off the top shelf, and she offers to just get it down for him, and he will not have it. So he has to climb the shelves like a jungle gym to get it, and he's failing miserably. And his wife and her new boyfriend are like, we could just hand it. No, I will get it. And he's got what an amazing sense of humor. Brian Wheeler, who played a Jawa in Return of the Jedi, shows up on the show too. He was managed by Davis for a bit because Davis actually had an agency
That's
that
right.
helped actors. And so, yeah, it's kind of funny. But anyway, so getting back to so Empire Strikes Back was your first experience. And I cannot believe I'm asking you this because we should know this. I mean, we were literally roommates. I should know this about you. But after that, Spielberg's first project was it Indiana Jones? No.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Was that what you worked on with him? Raiders? No.
Yeah, I mean, I was a Lucasfilm PA, so I became Steven's projectionist at home.
Right.
So in that respect, I was working for him on Raiders. But when they left to go to location, I just stayed on the Lucasfilm.
Were you working with him at the time of Poltergeist?
No, that was when I was back here for that 15 months and saw Steven, in 83.
I thought you were on the set of that for some reason. No?
No.
Huh. God, so many people I know survived that set. I just figured you were one of them. Mark, I'm sorry to get your resume wrong, buddy. All right, so
no, it's okay.
What did you ever see Spielberg direct a scene?
A scene?
Yeah, a scene.
Color Purple.
There we go.
Purple and Goonies second unit. So
there we go. There we go. All right, don't move.
Okay.
Stay still. Don't you move.
Color Purple is nothing less than a revelation from director Steven Spielberg. True, he's given us memorable films with great emotion before, specifically E.T., of course, and my personal favorite, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But both of those films involved encounters with aliens from outer space. In The Color Purple, an adaptation of Alice Walker's prize-winning black feminist novel, Spielberg deals only with people on this planet, mostly blacks growing up in Georgia from 1909 to 1943. And he is just as brilliant at reaching our hearts. And that's a big compliment when you're comparing it to films like E.T. and Close Encounters. To be very blunt about it, this is one of the best movies of the year, helping to save a very disappointing holiday season. The Color Purple, the book, is about two sisters, but the film focuses mostly on just one, Celie, played by comic actress Whoopi Goldberg in a brilliant movie debut. She's a put-upon girl, sexually abused by her father, sold in marriage to a brute who won't even let her read the letters that her dear long-lost sister is sending her. Danny Glover, the kindly worker from Places in the Heart, plays the cruel husband.
Morning, Mr. Humphrey.
Morning, Mr. Johnson.
I brought you some fresh baked cookies made in my stove.
Well, thank you. Now, they look
you can bring the plate back tomorrow.
For me?
He'll never let her see it if it did. One of her husband's other bad habits is he's really much more in love with a juke joint floozy named Suge Avery. Here's her arrival at Celie's home. It devastates her.
Hey, Celie! Get here! Celie, this Suge Avery, friend of the family. Fix up the spare room.
I can't move. I can't move. I need to see her eyes. I feel like once I see her eyes, then my feet can let go of the spot they're stuck in. You show is ugly.
Well, the pain on her face there is very real. The emotions in this film are flawlessly performed. One performance is better than the next. One of my personal favorites is a tough-talking, independent woman who is sort of a model for Celie as she gets stronger throughout the film, played by TV talk show host Oprah Winfrey. It's a terrific first performance, and Spielberg gets a lot of credit for getting think about it, two great first performances on film from Whoopi Goldberg and from Oprah Winfrey. The growth and change of most of these characters is memorable. Their pains and joys seem real and not manipulative at all. And at the end of the film, there's a scene that can't help but bring tears to your eyes. Sometimes critics throw that line around and you think, they're just saying it. This really works. Honestly earned tears. I love The Color Purple from start to finish. I feel sorry for people who miss it. A lot of Oscar nominations are going to come out of this picture.
I don't cry very often at the movies. You know, I really, maybe once a year, maybe once every 2 years.
I don't even do it that often.
And it's very rare when it happens. And sometimes when I do cry, I find it's just like in this movie. I don't cry at the sad places. I cry at the happy ones.
I did.
And the moment that
we must have done it.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was so overcome by that, and of course it's earned. It's not just a happy ending that
I'll tell
is
you,
tacked on. And
let
so
me tell you
forth.
something.
We have been there with this woman from the beginning of this movie right down to the end. We have lived her life with her. This movie gets underneath her skin, and it's amazing to me that Spielberg could make this film in a way, because all of his other films, even the really heartbreaking, real good ones like E.T. and Close Encounters, which you've mentioned, have also been special effects and action. This is a drama. It's straight ahead. It's the story of people's lives, and it works.
Well, what's remarkable to me is we didn't see this film at the same time in the same theater, and when the moment comes, it hits you like a ton of bricks. I'm just glad, because I was getting real down on the movies this year, and not after seeing this film. All it takes is one.
Spielberg never seems to let us down. Well, sometimes, but not this time. Thumbs up, though, for The Color Purple. We both think it's one of the year's very best films. Another, but not quite enough of them.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Certainly not enough of Vanessa Angel, that's for sure. But The Color Purple, right?
The Color Purple is the real winner.
Well, in this particular case, those two guys were absolutely stunned by the movie. Stunned by it. Like, they couldn't even... I'm sure they had their scripted notes. There is a writer's credit on these episodes. So I'm sure they've done some crafting of their thoughts. But, man, when they tried to talk about it, they both tripped over themselves just because of the emotions. And you, Mark... You actually said the line, you know, when we were watching that, you said, anything for me? Like, you were right there with it, man, which was kind of good to hear, because the movie is exceptional. That is one of the all-time great work of art films. And you were like, it was almost like you were the kid watching with wonder, the sense of wonder, looking at the clips from this again. Has it been a while since you've seen the movie?
It has been. I mean, it's been several years. And, you know, the thing that stood out to me was that Gene Siskel said there'll be Oscar nominations coming out of this one. And he was right. There were 11 Oscar nominations and no wins.
Why do you think that was? I remember that.
You know, there was an axiom in Hollywood for a while that there were three types of films that would not ever get Academy Awards: sex, special effects, and Spielberg. Yeah. And I think that you know, Hollywood is a small town. It's also a very envious town. And I mean, as much as I love it, that's the truth. I mean, it's, you know, people want you to succeed, but not too much. And Steven was a runaway success. He's a prodigy, and I think people resented that. And they didn't want to give him, you know, I think there was also this resentment not from a black perspective, but from a white perspective, that how dare a white person try to, you know, direct a film about the African-American experience. And I think that's absolutely wrong. In fact, Quincy Jones, when Steven kind of expressed doubt about directing the project, because he didn't have that experience, Quincy Jones famously said, well, you didn't have to come from Mars to direct E.T. So, and that swayed, you know, it changed Steven's mind. But I think he did. I think he got such sensitive performances, really powerful performances. And so I agree with everything that Siskel and Ebert said. And we experienced that on the set too. The scene where Mr. separates Celie and Nettie, young Celie, and throws Nettie off the property, was, you know, we did the master shot, and it was about 2 minutes long. And when it was all done and Steven said, cut, I looked around and there were Teamsters with tears streaming down their faces.
Yeah.
So, you know, that if you've got a powerful moment on the set when there's no music, production, you know, enhanced sound or anything else, to have that reaction is truly magical.
You know, I had a lot of respect for Quincy Jones. Had dinner with him once, and he blew me away. But anyone who knows the constellations when ET shows where he's from knows it ain't Mars. So he got that wrong.
Sure.
But to his point, you're right because Spielberg knows people.
Yeah.
So you're correct. The African American experience is a unique one to the community, but he does know people and human emotions, and he really got this right. I mean, this movie, I remember getting to the end of Color Purple and just being so emotionally exhausted.
Yeah.
You know, and Kakai told me everything that went into making it, where he was working on the A team, got the meeting with Kathleen Kennedy, got the book. There was no script yet, and they sent him out to North Carolina to get the locations. And the first thing he comes across is a Ku Klux Klan recruiting table in the middle of the town square. Which, if there is a reason, a demonstration as to why you make a movie like this, that is your reason right there.
Yeah.
That kind
Well,
of,
yeah. I mean, Stephen even had an experience driving home from the set one evening. He was pulled over by a sheriff's deputy um, for speeding, but he said that when he recognized Stephen, he said, "Oh, you're the one directing the movie with all them blanks." And Stephen was furious. I mean, um, he was trying to explain to us um, after it happened, and I, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine that that was going on in 1985, let alone still today. Well, and Stephen was able to tap those emotions in Celie and
mhm,
Sophia and Eddie and all the cast because of his experience as a Jewish kid growing up in a Gentile community, um, where the attitudes against Jews were the same as the attitudes against blacks,
right,
and
right.
so yeah, Stephen was well equipped to do that. And by the way, it was Color Purple and then Empire of the Sun that steeled Stephen's resolve um, to direct Schindler's List, which which is the one he did get the Oscars for,
Yeah.
and deservedly so because that is probably the most powerful film I've ever seen.
Yeah, it really is. And if you want a footnote on Schindler's List, these two critics loved it uh, and commemorate it, or
Yeah,
and they had some fantastic things to say about, particularly about the ending, which I remember. I remember sitting through Schindler's List for the first time, getting to that ending, and just being like, "Wow, it really does sum up what your actions will do and lead to beyond what
absolutely.
you can possibly comprehend." Like the idea that one good thing here can spiral into hundreds of good things that you may never hear about. Life-saving things. Anyway, The Color Purple is a work of art. I mean, they've since remade it. Because it is so good the first time around, it's one of those things where you hear that they're remaking it and you kind of cringe a bit, or I do anyway. I know the bookmark is like 30 years, then you're good to do the remake in our industry. They kind of like to give things about 30 years. Unless
Yeah.
it's terrible, they'll come back at it sooner. But this movie was really well done with so many special people on it, including yourself. And, Kakai was telling me that he had to buy the church to bring it down and that they basically shot the back of the house for the front of the house and built the balcony and was telling all these creative stories and put in air conditioning, which they had to hide in a shed. But I think at the end of the day, when he saw this too, he said every bit of it was worth it because look at the movie. Sit through don't look at the movie, feel the movie when you see it. Feel the movie.
Well, and even behind the scenes, there were some very powerful emotions going on. I mean, the scene in the film took place over several seasons, over several decades, and so but it was all shot in the summer of '85 in North Carolina in the height of summer, and July and August especially, it's like 100% humidity and it's 101 degrees,
Yeah.
and we were shooting interiors in the church in that kind of heat, and the extras had to be in wool overcoats and wool suits and things like that. And nobody ever complained, not one
Yeah.
complaint. and the air conditioning was rarely turned on. They had a big, hose coming in, bringing the air conditioning in. But then Steven would want to shoot right away, and it would turned off, and it'd be 150, in the church. So the every extra even was committed to that movie and added immeasurably to it too.
Yeah. Don't disrespect our atmosphere professionals, people.
Absolutely.
They
Yeah, we shouldn't
are,
even call them extras.
yeah. I mean, that's what they called them when I signed up. I signed up at Central Casting for a summer job. My daughter did the same thing too. It was a little bit easier then. You could just kind of walk in, they'll take a Polaroid from you, sign up, and you're good. And they would start
Yeah.
contacting you. Now I don't know what the process is. I mean, my kid did it. I'm not really sure what hoops she had to go through, but yeah, it used to be pretty easy. You sign up and they'd use you. And my first job would have been For the Boys for Mark Rydell. Story on
Oh,
that
really?
another day. Yeah, with
Bette
George
Midler.
Se- George Siegel and Bette Midler, right?
Yeah.
They wanted me for the Vietnam sequence. I don't know why they thought I'd fit a Vietnam sequence, but whatever.
Oh, I
Um,
do.
Shit. Anyway, man, so Color Purple, you're watching Spielberg on location for the first time. And I should point out, too, if you don't get the messaging here, a lot of this is covered in Mark's book in wonderful stylistic fashion. The book is fantastic. It's actually one of my wife's favorite
Thank you.
books.
Well, thank
So,
you.
yes, Goonies, Droids, and Killer Whales. We've covered the Goonies. We haven't covered we talked a little bit about the droids. We haven't gotten to the killer whale parts yet, but we will at a future date. Now after Color Purple, where'd you bounce with to Spielberg? What was his next job with you?
Um, well, I stayed on. I mean, he didn't direct anything in 1986 until later in the year.
Hmm.
So I just resumed my duties in Amblin as his personal assistant, and then toward the end of '86, he started gearing up for Empire of the Sun.
And
And I mean, he went on location. I stayed behind on that. I think they didn't see the bearing the expense of having another person having to house and feed them
yeah,
and travel stuff. So I stayed behind, but I did get visas for Stephen and Alan Davio and some of the production team to visit China, which was an experience that I document in the book. And I think Empire of the Sun was another one of those underrated movies that people have changed their opinions on over the years.
yeah. I remember seeing it at the time, and I thought, it's not what I wanted out of this movie. I'm a kid, so I want to see the whole landscape lit up with napalm and shit. But
Yeah,
and there's a little bit more of a human aspect. Christian Bale's fantastic in it, by the way, as is
yeah,
Malkovich. I mean, everyone in it's great, but there is that great scene where he's caught like touching the paneling of the Mitsubishi Zero, and he's like in awe of the aircraft. He's like an aircraft enthusiast, and he's amazed, and he's like walked up on by the Japanese pilots, and you think there's going to be some sort of sense of punishment. Instead, they all give him a salute,
yeah.
like that one like
Well,
exchange of humanity, if you will.
in fact, one of the soldiers standing by, he cocks his gun and is ready to shoot. Until they give him the salute. And there he gave an incredible performance. Um, the one that really is powerful to me is where he says, "I learned a new word today, atom bomb."
Hmm.
And it's just chilling.
I, my grandfather survived Guadalcanal, and I remember he told me that in America during the war, anyone could be a fighter pilot if you could get through the testing, and you could come from anywhere, New York City, the New York City streets, the cornfields of Nebraska, and if you had what it takes, you could be a fighter pilot and even a fighter ace. But in Japan, they took their pilots from a class system. And I think that kind of plays out in that scene in a way because once the pilots salute that the kid's okay, he's not going to get shot by the camped guard, because
Yeah.
it's almost like an authority figure had gestured that it's okay, which may have played in. I don't know why I thought that way. And by the way, the Japanese were used to fight Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam right after the end of the war.
Yeah.
Before the French could get back, they released Japanese prisoners to keep the countryside under control. And some of them did not want to return to Japan because they had heard that whole sections had been obliterated and leveled in like a white flash. So there was like these almost superstitious sounding rumblings with what we knew to be the atom bomb, but they knew that something had devastated their homeland. Communication being what it is, probably with French Indochina at the time and Japan, and they didn't want to. Some of them didn't want to go back. Crazy, crazy time. But
Yeah.
Empire of the
Absolutely.
Sun, uh, uh, pretty impressive. It looks beautiful, and it's got a great poster.
Alan Davio was truly a genius, and
Yeah.
I miss him. He died far too soon.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So what else is on the agenda for you after you get through the Empire of the Sun production experience? What did Mark Marshall do career-wise?
I screwed up my courage and left Amblin.
Yeah.
I had gotten a taste of production on Goonies when I went up just for vacation to observe the set, and they put me to work on the second day, and meaning Donner put me to work, and I ended up being up there for 3 weeks. Came back with the crew, and that lit the fire. And but I realized at the time there was no advancement at Amblin, so I knew that I'd be in my 70s and still getting Stevens laundry, which would have probably been fine. But I wanted more. I was such a Type A personality that I had to do something different every day. So when I left Amblin, Dick Donner picked me up and gave me a chance to work on a series called Tales from the Crypt for HBO.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and that started the production experience.
So Donner redirected a lot of careers, right? He was he was a good on-set experience guy. So
Yes. Yeah.
a lot of people like worked with him or moonlit with him and said, "This is it, man." And they didn't realize that these other fascist bastards ran things not the same way that Donner did, and they had a lot of people questioning their future. But I love Tales from the Crypt. In fact, I just saw the British, what is it, the Amicus production of Tales from the Crypt, where with Joan Collins, which I think was
the
actually
original
remade.
movie?
Yeah, I think her chapter is even remade into an episode of Tales from the Crypt, if I
Yeah,
remember right.
it's a great movie. It was one of the first movies I remember seeing, and
Yeah,
I loved it. I mean, the monkey's paw, and
yeah.
man,
Ralph
great
Rich
images.
Ralph Richardson as the
Yeah,
Crypt Keeper.
Crypt
My
Keeper.
buddy,
Yeah,
my buddy Richard Johnson, who was the star of The Haunting, who had done this show a few times before he passed away. He did a movie with Ralph Richardson, Khartoum, with Chuck Heston. And he said Ralph Richardson was the easiest, most likable guy, but would just flip a switch when he started acting, and you just thought like the voice of God was in the room. And even Laurence Olivier's in that movie, but he said Ralph Richardson would be like, "You have something you want me to hear?" But he was so impressed with Richardson. That's a terrible Richardson impression, but Richardson does play, I guess, that movie's version of the Crypt Keeper, which became a puppet. Who voiced the puppet? Do you remember for that show?
it was John Kassir.
Okay. I was going to
And
take
Tim
a
and Yeager
guess.
actually built it.
That's right. Yeager built it. Right. I remember that. But so that was a good experience, right? Because Donner had you write. So you're Donner's assistant at the time, and you're like doing script edits for him for time,
Yeah,
right?
well, he hired me as his production representative because he was one of 5 executive producers, but Dick was in the middle of Lethal Weapon 2, and he just had features back to back.
Right.
So wanted somebody to watch out for his interests on the set and tell him what was going on, and that's what I did. But then I ended up inputting all the scripts because I had a script formatting program, one of the early ones, back in 1989, and so I had a chance to see all the scripts before the production team did.
Hmm. That was a fun show, man. That was really well done.
It was, and the directors that came through there, with the first three, of course, were Walter Hill, Bob Zemeckis, and Donner, and then we had, I mean, Schwarzenegger and Michael J. Fox, and I mean everybody
Yeah.
directed a Tales episode.
It was really interesting meeting Walter Hill at Peter Jason's memorial. Um, and I remembered he had done Tales from the Crypt, you know?
Yeah, Walter, I always dreaded meeting Walter because
I know.
his films were so violent, but he
Yeah.
was a very nice guy, very nice man.
Yeah, I know. Because you said Spielberg burned down his beach house or something, and you had to go out and.
Part of his speech house, yeah.
It's better the way I tell it, Mark, that the whole thing went up in flames thanks to Steven's incompetence on the balcony one
Yeah.
night. But no, it's funny. You said Walter Hill was very gracious about it. And Milius worked with him several times, did the script for what's the one with Nolte and Booth that's a remake of The Wild Bunch. Milius had done that script. Extreme Prejudice, that's what it's called, and a couple of
Okay.
others. And Walter asked me how John was at the memorial. But it was, Tales from the Crypt has that moment in time where you're like, oh, anything goes. Welcome to 1980s HBO.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was a great time. I mean, like you said, the '80s and even into the '90s, it was such a special time, and
Yeah.
everything was. I mean, it was so busy,
Yeah.
unlike today.
It's funny because new ideas at the time were still embraced and thrown into action. Now, I think a new idea would intimidate a lot of executives who,
Well, they'd
wouldn't.
have to they'd have to be spelled out in
Yeah.
one of those pitch decks, and um,
Yeah.
back when studio execs had vision.
Right. And these guys did have vision, like the Allen Ladd Juniors. They had vision. Sid
Oh,
Sheinberg, those guys, they had their own ideas and they didn't always work. Because I remember you were telling me about Scheinberg's note on Scheinberg stories are great too, man.
yeah.
Especially now, us being basically living at Universal. But Scheinberg, would do things like, "Hey, why don't we call this like the third man? What is the title he wanted for Back to the Future?
Spaceman from Pluto.
Spaceman from Pluto." And you were there, right, when he sent the suggestion down?
I was with Stephen, and Stephen replied to the memo and said, "Thanks, Sid. We needed that laugh. It was a great joke. We all got a big laugh out of it." And Sid Sheinberg never mentioned it again.
Such a good way to put it on ice, right? Like, oh, you're so
Oh
funny.
yeah.
Don't
Well,
mention
Stephen,
that again.
Stephen, yeah, he loved Sheinberg. He
Yeah,
revered Mr. Wasserman. He loved Sid, and but he knew how not to offend and get his way.
Bob Gurr always told the story when had built and got King Kong, the initial attraction, ready to go, as Scheinberg came down to ride it. And he showed up in his suit and like one other guy, who knows who it was. And it's Bob Gurr and these two guys, Sid and his assistant, I guess, on the tram. They're the only ones on it. And Scheinberg starts climbing up and he's like, "Well, Gurr, it had better work," because it was so expensive at the time. And then they go through it, and it's moving, the track's moving, and it's New York's getting ripped up, and they come out, and Scheinberg gets off the tram and just gives them a nod and takes off on to the next thing. Like, okay, we're moving on. But it's like it's told with so much insightfulness into Scheinberg's character as you would analyze it, right? Anyway, go ahead.
Well, Peacock Network at the end of this month is actually debuting a documentary about the Universal tour. Is Bob mentioned in that? Is he featured in it?
I don't know. I haven't seen it
be.
yet. I haven't seen it. That's come up. That documentary has come up in some conversations. I don't know what the content is, but it's probably. I mean,
Yeah.
Gurr did a lot. He did a lot for Universal. I mean, he's known for his work at Disney, and the Disney fans herald
Right.
him as sort of this inspirational architect of the park, which he was to a degree. But I don't think it'll be interesting to see what they include. They should include a lot of
Well,
it. I think
he should be included. He should be.
yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of things. I remember he was telling me about the what is it? That really kind of clumsy interpretation of the parting of the Red Sea. You know that part of the tour? It's something else now. It's something else, but it was this big, I don't know. You know who was a tour guide though? I went out for that job. Did you go out for that job?
No, I didn't. I don't have the speaking ability.
It is so funny to find out who got the job and who didn't. I went out for it, was not hired. Bob Bergen went out for it and was hired. And then he went on and did Gremlins for Spielberg. He's one of the Gremlins, Cosmo or whatever it is. But I remember we were talking about you got the job and they didn't hire me. What the fuck? It's like,
do you know my story about Bob and the Universal tour?
No. What is it?
It's in the book. I have a friend named Patrick Laberto who was in summer school and Little House on the Prairie, and Patrick and I invited him to Amblin one day in '87 when Steven was off on location for Empire of the Sun, and so I said, "Why don't you come over for lunch?" So he came over, and I said, "I don't know why I thought this, but I said let's do the Universal tour." So we took an Amblin golf cart, went up to the tour area, and got on one of the trams, and we were coming down, and the tour guides were not allowed to point out Amblin.
Right.
They had to point out the wardrobe department or whatever. And so Patrick and I were just being jerks, and we were saying, "Hey, isn't that Amblin? Isn't that Steven Spielberg's place?" And this guy was saying, and on my side of the tram, but he was giving it back as good as he got. And so we told him later that, Patrick said, "Mark works at Amblin and I'm visiting," and he didn't believe us. So we went back to Amblin, made our sandwiches, and went back to that part of the tour outside the wardrobe building. And as the tram passed by later with this guy, he saw us with the Amblin carts and got a big laugh out of it. Well, it was Bob Bergen.
Oh, that's hilarious, because I'm going to be talking to Bob Monday.
Well, and I didn't even realize, I didn't know who Bob was, but 27 years later, Bob did a voice for my Sultana documentary.
Oh, perfect.
He provided 2 voices and was just lovely. What a great guy.
Oh, he's incredible. He's incredible.
Yeah, please tell him hello for me.
Oh, I will. He's part of our Combat Radio's Christmas Carol for a Cure, along with Ron
That's
Perlman.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so he's done it a couple of years. Patrick Warburton's in it this year. So Bob, but we always go back. I'm going to tell him that story. It's funny. They take the tram very seriously. Like, there is one thing when you're based there that you are told, do not mess with, and it's the tram. Do not clown with it. Don't get in its way. And I'll never forget, like a week into it, he's gonna remain nameless because he's a good friend of mine. He goes off and exploring. And this is why we kept the visitors to our bunker at Universal minimalized, because this is what people would do. They would come in and see you, and then they would wander off thinking it was cool to do. And so one of my friends goes down to the Mexico set, which was used as Swashbuckler, one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, with Robert Shaw, Jaws fame, although it doesn't hold up. And he's going down there, and he posts a photo of him like he's pushing the tram, like it's funny. And I swear I was not even home before I got a phone call saying, "We got something we need you to see." And I'm like, "Yeah, what is it?" And they send me this picture of him pushing the tram, and they were like, "Is this your guy?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's hard to tell in this photo. Why? What if it is? If it is, I certainly want to correct him. We would never, never approve of anyone messing with the trams. I mean, the trams are vital to our studio economy, blah, 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 blah." And there was that guy, too. Remember that famous story? There was a Scooby-Doo story of the guy who was the employee ultimately, I think, was security that was running around as the Phantom Slasher in a costume, like running around the Greaves department, terrorizing the trams, and towards the end of the day, like a Scooby-Doo villain. And I think even the Hardy Boys made an episode kind of inspired by that.
Wow. I
So
didn't
there's
know
all there's all these kind of stories about the tram and the mysticism. This should all be in this documentary. If it's not, I'm going to be very disappointed. But
that. Me too.
I'm not going to say who our friend was because he still does a lot of work with us. But he was very apologetic because I sent him the picture. I said, "Is this you? Guess what? Guess what phone call I just got? This is the phone call you don't ever want. You never want the brass calling you saying, 'Is this your guy?'" So so funny looking back. God, like we were. Oh my God, those days we were all kids. I got to tell that story to Bob Bergen though, man, because Bob Bergen undoubtedly will laugh it up. He's an incredible talent, as are you.
Oh no, Bob
What were you going to
definitely.
say? What were you going to say?
Bob is definitely a talent,
Oh
but
yes, but so is Mark Marshall. You've turned into quite an intrepid producer. The book is Goonies, Droids, and Killer Whales, and it outlines Mark's experience working with Spielberg, with Donner, Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, all the magic rolled into one magnificent piece of literature. We're talking a Pulitzer Prize worthy piece of literature. A book so fantastic that it's the best book since the Bible. That's right, folks. I said it. This is the best book to come out since the Bible.
Wow.
You know,
Can you
in
put that
fact,
in writing so I can put it on the dust cover?
I absolutely can put that in writing. And I would love to give you a compliment because former Warner Brothers senior VP Bill Daly's got the introduction. I have left a review of this book because I believed every word of it. I do think the book, you know what I love is I love insightful production journal books that talk about, people like you and me, Mark, who come from like the normal walk of life and we're fortunate enough to work in this business. There was no nepotism for us. There was no, we're going to get in and do the best we can with our opportunity. No one
Yeah.
was looking out for us. No one was safeguarding. We did not fail up because we knew somebody. Every bit, every page in this book, Goonies, Droids, and Killer Whales is an adventure in how to try to carve out a career for yourself and still be an incredibly ethical, charming, and creative person, and to do it all with integrity. Very, very interesting book. And
And then there's my book.
yeah, right. I know where you're going. And it's still, I think your book is a number one seller on Amazon, is it not? It should be.
I think last week it was 513.
Number
Um,
513?
yeah, in movie director biography. So
God, I wonder what
I have a
mine
ways to
is.
go.
Did you
You
get
know
a
what? You
notice?
sell
Huh? Go ahead.
you sell one book and you shoot up to number 31. And you
Yeah.
don't sell one for a couple of days and you're down to 152.
Well, did Amazon send you a note? They sent me a note at one point saying you're 3 books away from being a bestseller.
No,
Did you? And I'm like, what? It doesn't feel like a bestseller, but I thought maybe you'd gotten that notice too, because I thought yours had made the Amazon bestsellers list, or it's about to.
just it was number one for the first week.
Yeah.
But listen, yours is much more substantive and thrilling too. So I can understand you getting that note.
No, brother. Let's be honest. Your book is way, way better. Now
Yeah.
this is now I'm feeling the shame here because I'm around a better author with better life experiences crafted into a
No,
better book.
not at all.
So,
Not at all.
Mark, I'm going to give you the last word, brother. It's always good to talk to you. Can we do a part two and focus on the killer whales part of your book next time?
Sure, absolutely.
Uh,
Anytime. Listen, I just want to wish you all the best on this year's Christmas Carol. I wish
Thank
I
you.
could be there, but man, I'll tell you, you are what a great holiday gift, and also to benefit NMOSD
Thank you.
is icing. But you are paying it forward so much, Ethan, and just really proud of you and Loda and Sean and thanks for being in my life.
Well, no, thank you, man. Our lives are better with you in it. We have a lot of love for you. We miss you actually not being out here. I will tell you, my daughter is a constant source of inspiration, and
Agreed.
a constant sort of she's inspirational in a sense that nothing is out of the realm of being achieved, and when you're beat down and you're going up against the system and you're trying to find sponsors and collaborators to try to save lives. Not everyone can identify with it. Unfortunately, we keep grinding it out and getting to a better and better place with the production as you kind of build your relationships, your alliances, your footing. And I will tell you, it's a harder road than most people realize to do production anyway, but to do it for a charity when nobody profits, we're all volunteers. It's hard to keep that Rebel Alliance together, and I'm glad you've been a
Yeah.
part of it, Mark, as much as you could have been throughout the years, when and where you can help, and you've always been. I'm going to make you an honorary ambassador at this year's event. I don't know if you can make it out to receive an award, but we're going to make you an honorary ambassador, and we're going to put you down for an award
Oh.
and in the credits, and we're going to honor you for all the hard work you've done, and all, and so much of it is thankless, right? I mean, I'm a dad who just did not want to tell their kid no. I wanted them to believe that all things were possible, so let's go for it. And here we are. But we're here
Well,
because of people like
yeah.
you. Because of people
Well, and in
like you.
doing this, there's no thanks needed.
Wow.
The thanks is just being allowed to be a part of it. So, and listen, I have no doubt that you all will be victorious. It's because failure is not an option. So,
No.
bless you for the work you're doing.
Well, thank you for being you, buddy. Mark Marshall, we have a lot of love for you. We love you, Mark Marshall. We miss
I
you.
love
We
you
love
guys too. Love you guys too.
I look forward to seeing you soon, buddy. Stay safe.
Same here. You too.
Hi, this is Bill Daly. Please help me find a cure for NMOSD, and with it possibly cancer. Visit the Guthrie Jackson Foundation website and donate today.